Hello, welcome to episode 3 of the poker vlog. I'm going to try and keep this short and sweet today. I have about $1,500 set aside, and that is 5 buy-ins roughly at 1-3. And I am having a little bit of a challenge where I'm going to try and 5x that. So get to 25 buy-ins essentially, or $7,500. By I think I'm gonna do 3 months, so end of January, but we'll see how things are going and maybe touch that up a little bit. The main MO for today's play is to be confident, not scared. If you watched last episode, I'm a bit of a scaredy cat, so that's just, I want to be tight, aggressive, not spew off any chips, and whatever happens, happens. Don't be results oriented, just play your best. And yeah, I'm not in the center, but that's okay. I'm gonna try and start posting more on Instagram, just short form, less analysis type content, more advertisement type content. So you might see me there, but for the purposes of YouTube, I'm still going to be trying keeping it sort of from a study perspective, so people who are trying to get better at poker can maybe get something out of this. So I also got a new mic, which you will see when I do the hand reviews. Hopefully the audio is a bit better, but we'll see that later. For now, I'm just going to go inside, do my best, and hopefully not go broke. Thank you. Alrighty. Just wrapped up. It is 10 p.m. We started a little before 6, so a little over a 4-hour session. And we, for the first time on this channel, finished up. We won $15. Woohoo! We won 15 bucks, a whopping 5 big blinds. And you know, I'm happy to be up. I'm happy that I'm not recording another down video, but no, you know what? We'll get the goods first. We'll do the goods first. I'm happy I'm up. I played better than I did the previous 2 sessions. I played less scared. I played more straightforward. And I wasn't in my head as much. The only negative is I was up like $100, very close to when I wanted to leave, when I should have left. And I stayed for like 2 to 5 more hands. And I just made this really bad bluff and I just blew off like $60. So in the grand scheme of things, that one hand doesn't matter that much. I think there's a lot of good to take away from this video, but I also think it's good because we are still every single session identifying ways we can be better. Because literally in that hand, I knew if I bluffed the turn, I would have won the hand, and I didn't bluff the turn. I bluffed the river, which was so bad, and then I lost. But hindsight's 2020. We booked a win. The big blind per hour win rate is still red, but yeah, at least I didn't lose $300. Alrighty, kicking us off to the first hand where we face off one-on-one against the big blind. We are in the button with Queen 8 offsuit, Queen of clubs, and the 8 of diamonds. And raising first in position here, our range can be pretty much everything. I think this is kind of from my skill level. I know some people who, if they were raised first in the button, they would literally raise any 2 cards. But at my skill level, I'd say this is about the bottom of our range, which I think is a good place to be. And we raise it up to 15. And the big blind, small blind folds, and the big blind calls. So we go ahead to the flop with a pot of $30. And the flop comes the 10 of diamonds, the 6 of spades, and the king of diamonds. So we have nothing. We've got nothing. We've got a runner, straight draw, runner, 8 high flush draw. So yeah, nothing. But he checks over to us, and we decide to bet out about 1/3 pot, which is pretty standard in position, no matter what our hand is. And he goes ahead and calls, which makes the pot $50. And something I realized is when he can be calling Like when you get called here, sometimes you want to just be like, oh my gosh, she's a king. Oh my gosh, she is diamonds. But like they could literally be calling with anything, like pocket twos and up, queen nine, like ace, ace nine, like literally anything under the sun. So I kind of just have to realize whenever I get called, it doesn't mean that they have top pair. It doesn't mean that they have the nut flush draw. They're just calling to see if I bet again, and that's why it's important to keep betting on multiple streets and not just bet once and give up, which is what we do when the turn comes the two of clubs. So we still have nothing, but he checks again, and we bet out 40, so just under pot. And if he did have a flush draw, a not great flush draw, he might have folded here. He's not folding a king. He may fold a 10, but he also, this just folds out all of his garbage, all of his gut shot, straight draws, anything like that, and he does fold. So we win this one. It's a pot of about 50 bucks. Not a great win, not a huge win, but it definitely feels good to kind of fire twice and get it done. So good hand number one. This hand is a great example of kind of why I'm struggling a little bit at these stakes. So we have ace king in early position, and we raise it up to 20. There was one limper, I believe, and 5 people call. And I'm not going to do the hand graphic for this one because I'm out of the hand at the flop. But the flop comes 5-8-5, and we're early position. But I believe the big blind bets out, and I mean I don't see a world where I can call even just one bet against 5-8-5 with 3 players left to act behind me, or 2 players, sorry, no, 3 players. Yeah, it was 6-handed, insane. But yeah, I fold, and the guy in the button, I believe, calls, and then the turn comes something, and then the guy bets, the big blind gets bets again, and then the guy in the button shoves, and he gets called by I believe an 8, and he has quad fives. He had 5-7 suited, and like this when every single time that I've left and been down money, it's because I lose, like, not because I lose, but like what happens is I lose like 3-4 hands in a row where I'll bet like 15, 20 bucks, maybe one continuation bet, and all of a sudden I'm down. All of a sudden I've just lost 35, $40, um, because like someone just has a crazily bad hand and they connect insanely well with the flop. So like this is maybe this is cope, maybe this is insanity, but I genuinely just think that I'm running like weirdly bad, and I've been card dead. And when I do have hands, people call and hit the flop way better than me. I'm not complaining. I think it's a good thing that people call with trash. I think long term it'll be great for me, but right now it's kind of just throwing me for a loop. And I think now at this point in the session, I'm like back to even, maybe down a tiny bit just because of these small pots where like I just can't get anything done. So if anyone has like experience with this, and they change something, maybe they were going through the same thing, and they change something in their game to like navigate multi-way better, or just maybe like fold big hands unless you can isolate, or maybe raising even bigger pre-flop, like 25 or 30, which just seems insane for 1-3, like 10 big blinds pre-flop as like just a first raise seems just insane. But like maybe that's the strategy. I really don't know. So yeah, just let me know kind of what your experience is with this and how you've gone about dealing with it. Okay, so hand number 3. Just a little context. I'm at like my stack's at like 220 right now. We're down a bit from some previous hands where I think I made the correct laydown in some tough spots, but we are down a bit, and the button straddles, and the small blind and the big blind call, and then it folds around to us in the cutoff, and we decide to raise to 25, so a big raise pre-flop, but there's already $18 in the pot, so it's kind of insane. And the button folds, and the small blind and the big blind call, so the pot is $75. And the flop comes the 3 of spades, the 8 of hearts, and the king of hearts. We flop top pair. And it checks around to us, and we decide to, again, in position, just doing our casual betting of 1/3 pot. We bet 25, and the small blind folds, and the big blind calls. So another 50 in there. The pot is 125. And when the turn comes, the 4 of clubs, and it checks over to us, I think we only have one option. Like I said, our stack was like 220 at the start, and I've already put in 50. So I'm at like 160, 170. My numbers aren't perfect, but I remember it was a bit of a over bet jam that I decided to go with. And here, the only thing that I thought that I could have done better was maybe bet a little bit bigger on the flop so that it wasn't an overbet jam, maybe just like a pot size jam. But we do bet with like 150, 160 left behind. And he thinks about it for a while, so we think maybe he's on hearts. Hopefully he doesn't have a worse king. I think that would be kind of bad, but he ends up folding, and we take this one down. So yeah, I think I could have played it a tiny bit better just by, you know, you're supposed to think about kind of 3 streets ahead when you're when you're in pre-flop or on the flop or on the turn. You should be thinking about, what if it makes it to the river? What will our stacks look like then, given the kind of bets that I'm putting out right now? And that just kind of comes with experience and, you know, just kind of game sense and getting a feel for things overall, which I'm still kind of new with. But again, I think it's good to sorry, I heard something. I think it's good to identify things that I could be doing better, and this is one of them. I will say, in response to the last video where I said I wanted to take note of the pot sizes more, I was doing that a lot, very well in this video, so I was happy about that. Okay, hand 4. This one's, I just had no idea what happened in this one. I won't be able to provide any sort of statistical analysis. It was just, you'll see. So the under the gun straddles, which means that the big blind acts first, and he calls. And then I think there's 4 other callers, so there's 5 callers total, and I'm in the small blind, and I'm last to act, which is so weird. And I decide to raise to 30 with pocket jacks, and then 5 people call. So I'm just like, what the heck? What am I doing? What are my life choices? Raise to 30, and I guess there's already a lot of money in the pot, so I can't really blame them for calling. But like, I assume at least one of them has to have a hand where I'm just like, what are you calling with? So the flop comes 9, 8, king, rainbow, and I assume someone has to be hitting this flop in some capacity. Everyone checks, so I guess not. And then the turn comes to 10 of diamonds, and it checks around to me, and I bet $40. So the pot is like $150, and I bet just $40 into it. And I mean, it's so like, so many hands I think could be beating us on this flop. I mean, on this board, but all 5 of them fold, and I don't know how. Maybe someone folded a 10. That'd be kind of weird. Maybe someone folded a straight draw. That'd be kind of weird. Maybe someone folded a flush draw. I really, I'm kind of lost on this hand, but we pick it up, and it's a big one, so I can't complain. But I just can't provide anything helpful to learn from this one. It was just kind of just like, what the heck just happened. Okay, last hand of the night, and kind of the coolest one, actually, or the one we can learn the most from. Sorry, there weren't a lot of interesting hands this night. I didn't play for that long, and I was kind of card dead. But in this hand, we have ace king off, and we raise first in the cutoff to 15, and the button and the big blind both call. So we're going to a pot of about 45. The main villain of this hand is the big blind, and he was this gentleman who was locked in. I could tell I'd played with him before. He was very good. Heard he was sticky, and I was a bit afraid of him, to be honest, but you will learn more about him in this hand for sure. The flop comes 5, 10, 3, 2 clubs, and when it checks, the big blind checks, and I bet out, which I don't love. I think I could have gone with a check here, but the uh, the button the button player folds and the big blind player calls. So I think I bet 15 and he calls. So that's 75. And here, I don't really know what he could have. I'm thinking maybe 10, a 10, some clubs, maybe a pocket pair, or maybe nothing, and he just doesn't believe me. On the Jack of Hearts turn, this is kind of why I wish I checked the flop, because then I think I could have repped this Jack a little bit better. Because now when he checks it over to me and I bet again, I bet 45 bucks, and he calls. So I think maybe I'm a little bit less believable because of the fact that I've raised the flop and the turn, but I still don't know exactly what he's calling me with. I feel like it might be a little bit hard for a 10 to call here. I don't think he should have a jack in this spot. And I mean, he could still have clubs. He could have a straight draw of some sort. The big blind is a very wide calling range, especially when there's only 2 players in the pot so far, and it's 1-3. And then the river is the 9 of clubs, and he checked over one more time, and I thought about betting again. I really did. I thought about blasting off, but I mean, the straight gets there, the flush gets there, and I kind of put him on a draw. So I sort of chickened out, and I just checked back, and he showed 5, 8 of hearts. So he actually kind of destroyed me, and he called twice with just a pair of fives. And I think firing off on the river here is a bit of a mistake long term, but I also think that raising in a multi-way pot with nothing, I mean, maybe 3 ways it's okay, but I mean, you can let me know in the comments what you think about betting this flop. And then I think when I bet the flop, I have to bet the turn. And then if I bet both streets and I fire out the river, I'm kind of just assuming he has like a 10, which is kind of what he kind of made it seem like. But I also think that I could have checked the flop, bet big on the turn, and then if I bet big on the turn, maybe it's easier to bet on the river, and then he folds the 5 because so much got there. But I think that's a bit of tunnel visioning, because how often do people show up with just a 5 here? Not very often. This guy was just good. So I'm curious to hear people's thoughts on this hand. I definitely felt not good that I didn't fire on the 3rd street, but I also think that could be a mistake in the long run. So let me know what you would do or what you think. And then at this point, I'm not going to analyze this hand, but something I want to talk about is like just trusting your gut, because I was up like 100 at this point because I'd won like a 5-way limped pot with king queen, where the same big blind that I just played against like bet into me like 3 times with kind of nothing, and I called 3 times. But I just don't want to analyze limped pots because I just don't know the strategy, and like I'm gonna be talking out of my butt, and there's just nothing to go with it. Like, it was just he could have anything. Like anyone could have anything at a limp pot. Like, and I just don't think there's any strategic value to limp pots. I don't think there's anything to be learned from them. Like, I just called with top pair 3 times and that's it. But I was up like $100, and my gut was like, dude, just leave. Like, but I stayed because there was like 30 minutes left in the high hand promotion that they were doing. And then I had this hand, 10-4 suited. Flop comes 2 clubs, and this guy who just fires out on the flop. And I literally had the thought in my head, like, raise this flop. You have a draw. Like, you have a good club draw, and it's so likely that he has nothing. But I didn't, and the turn checked around, so my suspicions were confirmed. He had nothing except a pair of 5s. And then an ace came out on the river, and I literally just like he checked, and I reached for chips, and I literally, while I was touching the chips, I was like, this is a bad idea, but I still did it. And like he called, and he had ace 5, so he turned, like, he thought about it too, which is insane. But No flush, no straight on the board. Um, and he called, and I just lost like a big portion of my winnings when I wanted to leave. But I literally I went against my instinct 3 times in that one hand. And I remember hearing like, I forget where I heard it from, but it literally said like your instinct is like pattern recognition in real time. Like your gut instinct is genuinely like your body saying, "Hey, we've been here before, and this is what you should do." Like when you get the gut feeling that you should fold because you think they have 2 pair, when you have the gut feeling that like you should do like raise because you think that they have nothing, like just go with, I need just to go with my gut more and really not play based on greed or fear, which is I didn't raise the flop because of fear and I bluffed the river because of greed. So like those are the 2 biggest kind of influencers. But yeah, this was my stack when I wanted to leave, when my gut was telling me to leave, and this is my stack after bluffing that hand, and you can tell one pile is significantly smaller than the other, but we're still leaving with a smile on our face, so that's awesome. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That is the end of this video. Let me know in the comments if you enjoyed, and if you did, leave a like. If you didn't enjoy, also leave a comment. Let me know why. You know, what you'd like to see, what I can do better to make these videos better for you guys. I'm starting to work on recording a little bit more in person to get some live clips, but you know, some casinos are strict, and I'm also very uncomfortable and nervous when I do it, so you'll see a little bit more sprinkled throughout, but yeah, it's definitely a work in progress. But yeah, I hope you guys were able to take something out of this, or just maybe relax and watch a cool poker video. So thank you. See ya.